On this episode of Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered, we talk about artificial intelligence in the appraisal industry, Fannie Mae and how they're cracking down on the industry as well. We talk about social media. It's going to be an incredible show. Tune in. You talk about it privately. We talk about it publicly. This is the Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered podcast. Welcome again to the Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, James Dwiggins, along with my co-host, Keith Robinson, aka Crazy Uncle Keith.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Tell us about Anthony Young and the topics.
We had Anthony Young, the CEO of Valued Audit, and full disclosure, a good friend. We dug in on a myriad, good word for the day, of different topics. We talked about clickbait versus headlines, how Fannie Mae is coming down on appraisers. We dug in on how to have the price conversation like an appraiser instead of like someone who doesn't look at data, and the importance of social media and brand building.
And artificial intelligence in the appraisal business, which was a fun. It's basically in every one of our topics at this point is AI.
Yeah. You can't do a podcast today and not say AI at least 3 times. It's required.
Yeah.
But it was great conversation.
It was great conversation. It's going to be an incredible show. Let's dive.
Let's go.
Anthony, welcome to the show. We are super excited to have you here. And I have to admit, it's the first time there's been 2 bald guys on the show at the same time.
I think that is true.
That is a true statement. So
I'm going to have to go back and look.
Yeah.
Dan Duffy didn't have a robust head of hair.
Yeah, but he had a little bit more than both of you combined. So
God only made so many perfect heads, and he'll put hair on the rest of them.
So at a later point, we'll explain what happens with a bald head on Facebook. At some point, Keith can share that story with you. That's a true funny story for Facebook's algorithms for security threats.
Yeah, that's a terrible story.
It's a really good one, actually. So, all right. So, Anthony, we appreciate you being here. We'll dive into this because you are not only an expert in this space, but you're doing a lot of really good educational stuff on helping realtors really approach the business differently and understanding valuation and comp and all of this stuff. And we'll dive into that. Keith, should we start with the quick rapid fires and just get these things knocked?
Not so rapid fire questions.
Yeah, they tend to be longer, but it's a good way for us to get to know the guest on the show. So I'll start. If you were a superhero, who would it be and why?
Who would I be? Probably Clark Kent with a valuation superpower that I can just look at the address and it just shoots out.
So you'd be Math Man? Like, don't take this the wrong way, but that's probably the worst answer we've ever gotten.
Worst. He's wearing glasses, so I guess you could pull that off.
I'd have a lot of friends in the business.
That is true. We don't want to judge your answer. That's a very good answer, Mr. Young. That's a very good answer.
All right, keep going.
Favorite book or podcast and why?
Favorite book, probably Good to Great.
That's a good one.
I think there was just so many nuggets that were hidden in there. Like that one, Blue Ocean Strategy and How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think definitely impacted just my roots.
Yeah,
overall.
3 solid ones.
That's a good one. All right.
I won before we go to the third one. This is off script. How many TikToks do you normally send to your friends per day?
Listen. If I don't send you 1 million TikToks a day, do I even love you?
Yeah.
I mean, whether we're dating or we're best friends, I don't take much time off. So when I do,
You don't take much time off of TikTok, that's for sure. All right. Anyway, number 3.
In case the guests and listeners don't know, we actually know Anthony pretty well. In case you haven't figured that out already. All right. So if you could have lunch with one person, current or historical, who would it be?
I would probably do a little bit of both, but I would have lunch with the 75-year-old me.
Oh, well, there's a good one.
That's a really good one.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah, you weren't doing so great, but you crushed number 3.
I mean, listen, that
was a really good one.
That was a good one. Okay, that's a really interesting. That's an interesting way to think about it. And just like what could you ask questions to change in your past? Man, there'd be a lot of those if I were to talk to my 75-year-old self.
Tell me what stocks to buy.
It's like I just literally wrote a couple hours ago on social. It's like, let's pick our regrets, right? Yeah. So when I talk, there's invariably it's all baked in, right? The regrets, we have those in our life because this is not a dress rehearsal. So if I look back and say, hey, you know what? well, what would I have done? What should I have done there that would have directed? I mean, there's certain things that happen in our lives that, I wouldn't change it, but wouldn't choose it. But having that conversation with me later saying, I need you to look at this a little bit different. I need you to zoom out a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a really good one. Okay. All right. Well, let's dive in, because I think there's a lot of the stuff you're doing is really, really interesting and incredibly helpful. And I've been watching a lot of the educational stuff you've been putting out as well, and just helping our industry be more professional as a whole. And that kind of, I think, is a good way to start this first question of, obviously the market's crazy. How are we like balancing reality versus headlines versus, buyer and seller wants?
Well, I mean, I don't think we're balancing it well, because I think what's happening as a profession from all different sides is we're constantly regurgitating news, clickbait, right? And let's talk about a macro perspective that has nothing to do with our farm, nothing to do with our spirit. It's like, oh, Alameda County dropped 10%. It's like, well, but what happened in Poets Corner? Like, what happened in La Miranda? Like, what happened in these areas? So I think what we're missing is, in one situation, we have everybody say, hey, it's time to buy, it's time to sell, it's time to buy. And then 2 posts later, because we're not focusing on the data within our market, our immediate competing marketplace, we're then contradicting, and we're saying that, the biggest declines ever. But what the news, sure, we might have dropped $10,000. Let's say we dropped year over year, 900,000 to 890, right? They're going to report that, blow it up, we buy fear. What they're not telling you is that the market actually dropped from 900 to 820, and in the last 4 months jumped $70,000.
Right.
That's the part where I think we're just, as an industry, one, the data within the data, we're missing that, but we're just not reporting it. Like, guys really got to dig in and do the work. No one wants to do the work anymore.
Data points are what they report to make headlines, but trend lines are what tell you the story, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's very easy to pick a number, take one data point, and try to tell a story, especially if you want to tell a negative one. It's much harder to take a trend line and try to skew that. So I agree 100%.
It's interesting when you think about, like, you see these headlines still about foreclosures, and I just go, I'm sitting here on the sidelines going, what are we talking about? Like, there's so much equity in these properties after all of this time. Like, it goes, oh, well, foreclosures are up 100%, right? From 0 to 1. I get it. But I think you have a really good point. Our industry just is not talking enough and providing real-time data that's specific to not just a market or a city, but like certain even segments of a city can be very different. And on a lot of the other shows that we've done, we talk a lot about the value proposition of the realtor has to change, and it needs to grow, and it needs to expand. And in a way, we've had a lot of really interesting economists on our podcast, and you get deep into this data going, nobody's doing this kind of research, to the comment you're making on people read the headlines and they move on. But we have to supply this information out to them and get far more granular with it and help people understand, to Keith's comment, a trend line, not just a single piece of data. What does this look like? What does this look like long term? Where are we at now? And I mean, just even seasonally adjusted, we're going to be below 2010 numbers for actual sales this year.
And I think people don't do that, right? They don't tie that information together. It's like, oh, we've got 1,000 homes on the market. It's like, compared to what?
Right.
Take me back to historic trend and give me something. But I think, again, we're still missing that last piece on all sides of the industry. It's like, here's the number we're at. Here's the number that we were at before. And then what does that mean to you, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, living at 123 Main Street? How is this affecting you when we're sitting here and saying, okay, well, this is happening, Mark. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, bargaining time is over. So I use this in one of my console calls. Hey, I'm not here. I don't have any invested interest. My income is not based on the outcome of you buying this home. I'm just brought in here to handle the price conversation. So what I will tell you is this, is that if you love this home, great, do it. If you want to continue to look, I want you to do that too. However, I'm going to show you the data here that shows that this neighborhood is moving at a rate of 2.36% per month. So if you want to stay in the market and wait 2 more months to find a house, are you okay with paying 5% more? Right. And so that's the part where, when we educate in this profession, we become the expert. But that's, like he said on another podcast him and I are on, it's like, we have enough information. We don't have enough people tying it together for the consumer.
Yeah. And please don't just read the headline and then post it. Like, actually read the article and then see if you agree with it. And
why would they do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
As I teach my 15-year-old son, you know, how to do primary research, but he'll come and talk to me as if it's law.
Yeah.
Whatever that
Yeah.
meant.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I got another one. Let's zoom out a little. You have a very successful appraisal company. You have for years here in California. And not to make this a downer, but I mean, basically, isn't Chat GPT and AI and technology going to basically make appraisers obsolete, and we're just going to hit a few buttons and get the number we want?
I really love that question.
I felt like a statement, partially.
I mean, I love ChatGPT, just like I love appraisal waivers. But I'll turn the question back to you. Do you feel like AI is going to replace the real estate agent in a highly emotional residential market? No. Period. We're too emotional. I mean, all three of us. Like my own property, right? Well, my property, after I gutted it and renovated it, and I had to have an appraiser come out, it's like, I prepared this full report and all of this and all of that. And then I had a couple of, quick conversation with them, and I knew that they had their head on right and they understood the data. But the fact is, I'm in this business. I've been doing this for well over 2 decades at a high level, and I'm still extremely emotional. So just like on both sides of our industry, we got to stop being scared. I mean, I was trying to teach appraisers how to use statistics 15 years ago, and everybody's constantly scared of technology instead of saying, how can I embrace this? And like for me, it's like data science, the art of real estate, and human insight, right? And you tie those things together, but you still need to, we're too emotional. Yeah. ChatGPT can't even get a 5th grade essay right for me when I was trying to cheat.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I read this article this morning on Better, the mortgage company that's not better, and their stock is really not better.
Worser. Are they going to change their name to Worser?
Rushed. What's funny, and I'm tying this, Anthony, because I think it's relevant. Their original business model essentially was to not be partners with real estate agents. Like it was to, they had their own real estate agents, which they started to do essentially internally, so they could create this complete experience. Those people all got fired. And now their new business model is to partner with the agent because they're realizing that there's this emotional connection between the agent and their clients. How many times have I said this where I'm like, everybody who doesn't understand the human connection of someone needing guidance to make big life decisions, these companies that think about just will remove all of this. I'm like, no, you're completely underestimating it. And I'll go deeper because I think this is a relevant comment. It's like people talk about artificial intelligence, and I do think there's going to be lots of things that we can automate with AI. I also think people are underestimating the amount of human beings who are getting sick and tired of all of this stuff sort of being involved in our lives and our lack of privacy and trying to understand everything I do, where I want to sit down and have a conversation. I don't want to go to a restaurant and have some damn machine take my order.
Don't you hate scanning the QR codes to get the menu?
Yes. I want to be able to talk to somebody who can be like, what's good today? What do you recommend?
Download this app to order. Like I'm leaving. I'm not downloading another app so I can.
The only app I have is DoorDash. Yeah, that's the app I'm downloading to order something.
I'll be wearing that one out.
Let me actually tag back into that ChatGPT, right? So I actually use it in my appraisals now. There's different ways where I can summarize it, and we have to be very concise. But the thing is, with real estate agents, I believe, so, you don't know what you don't know. And so there's a lot of stuff that I put out. There's guys where they get my appraisal course for loan officers and agents, and they're like, oh, I saw appraisal, and I didn't even know I needed this, right? So if you think about this, there are good appraisers and there are bad appraisers, right? We've all dealt with them. There's good agents and there's bad agents. We agree? Right? Now, we love technology and we love the AVMs, and I love appraisal waivers too, because 90% of my business is consulting anyway. So it doesn't have to do with lending. But with that said, you think it's tough to deal with an appraiser right now? Wait till you're arguing with a computer and you don't even understand pricing, right? So, I mean, when I spoke for you guys in Houston, I don't care where, my people are all over the US. No one understands the basic parts of the appraisal report. And I always joke in the beginning of my class, say, hey, you know what? Let's be honest. Nobody cares about the appraisal till it doesn't come in.
Facts.
And everybody, but you know what? In this time of the market, right, James and Keith, would you agree that even vets that have been in the business for 17 to 25 years are hurting right now? right?
Yeah.
Everybody is not.
Business is down.
Yeah, everybody's hurt.
So anybody who acts like it's not, they're lying.
Yeah.
But before, when you got 15 deals in the pipe, you don't care. You don't have to rebuttal that appraisal. Who cares? But right now, when that one deal closing is the difference between you paying your son's tuition at USC or you paying your mortgage or you doing this, I bet you really want to know what that appraisal is saying.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The nugget that you really hit on that I hadn't considered is, the appraisal rebuttal process when there's humans involved is hard. When you try to debate a computer, like good luck. Good luck.
Set on expert mode.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like the end scene in Terminator.
So I'm assuming you hate it when agents bring you comps. Is that?
No, I don't. There might be some guys that do, but I look at information as currency. Now, here's the thing that I'll get on every agent about. It's like, if you're going out there, like I always ask, hey, who meets the appraiser? And the whole fan, it's like, hey, why do you meet it? Okay, well, I want to bring him comps. I want to tell him, relevant features. I want to do this. And I'm like, or you just want to make sure that my belt matches my shoes and matches my watch band. But see, what happens is you guys bring information to the comps. When you bring me just a bunch of MLS sheets, I promise you my daughters will be doodling on them by 6 p.m. that afternoon. Like it's a big, they're useless. I have the same information. Now, granted, if someone miscategorizes something that was supposed to be a duet, but it was really detached, I'm going to miss it, right? But what's the thing? When you bring the appraiser comps, and if you really think about this, how many appraisers do you see at broker stores? You never see them. Rarely ever do you see them. So the things that we can't find in the data, write that on the MLS sheet. Write that side of the street has foundation issues. Write that it wasn't in the disclosure package, but we discovered that the master bathroom was falling through. Write that the fact that this property, don't get rid of the low comps. Explain them out is what I tell them. Tell me, hey, you know what? We had issues with the tenant. They wouldn't take staging. It was bought sight unseen, right? Tell me those things, because once you expand the mind, the appraiser might act like they know, but they have to go home and disqualify that. Right. But on the flip side too, if you give them real, raw, solid information and they ignore it, you now have ammunition in the rebuttal. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's
how
I
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
What's that?
Keep going.
Oh yeah. So, and some guys say, oh, I want to upset the appraiser and act like they're doing their job. No, you know what? It doesn't. Like, I have literally a shirt that says facts over feelings. Who cares about the feelings? Both sides of the business, we are here to protect the public, right? So you're to do your job. I'm supposed to do my job. And if that means giving that appraiser, the appraiser would take comps, text it to him, email it to him, hand it to him.
Yeah, but don't provide comps, provide context, right?
Oh, yes, like absolutely.
The comps are fine, but you have access. Every appraiser who is a licensed appraiser has access to all the same comps that a real estate professional does. So the comps don't help, but context helps a tremendous amount. If something had 35 offers, right? Well,
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So I'm going to talk about, let me go back up for a second too. There's some agents that will go out and explain every single comp. So I had this agent, phenomenal agent. She was on top of her stuff. It's a $5 million segment. She knew every comp that had sold, all the things. Gives me this stack, explains them all out. But what she didn't think about, Keith, is that I had 6 more meetings and a speech that night. So by the time I actually sat down on my desk to look at them, I don't know what information went to which comp, right? Right. So, explaining that out. And what was the other part that you said? I lost that here.
Well, don't just bring comps, bring context. So help you see what's not in the MLS so that you can have information that's critical to valuing a property.
How do you remove bias from any of that? Just curious. Like if
that's true. Hot word.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. But
don't get sued, Anthony. Don't get sued.
I mean, let me see. What hat can I put on? Take off the appraisal hat, put on the common sense hat. Here's the bottom line, right? There's a lot of uproar right now with the bias. This is a situation that's coming down, and we've all got to take it serious because it's now pressing. It's almost like it's just doing too much, where I can't say family anymore. I can't say this. I can't say the neighborhood is in good condition. It used to be just say, I can't, say master bedroom, but I could still say plantation shutter. Like there's just all these things that just don't even make sense. And like, there was a situation literally last week where like, we don't want your opinion on this. I said, it's proximate. We don't want your opinion on this. We don't want your opinion on this. But I was like, do you remember the definition of value? Like the opinion? You guys want that. Right. But the bias, there is no true bias, right? Sure. Are there the oddballs? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's the guys that, just like police officers, some police officers that have some triggering things that they probably shouldn't work in certain environments, right? Everybody, we're all human. But with that said, we're now getting it to where I'm not being biased if I pick all the comps inside of the competing marketplace, and the competing marketplace is an inferior neighborhood to the one next to it. So now you're telling me before I couldn't cherry pick, but now you want me to cherry pick and skip over what's here to go over there. It's just, you know,
I think it's the argument that people are going to use from using software versus humans. That's why I asked the question. Just from I'm not, by the way, agreeing with it. I'm just.
Let's zoom out. Let's zoom out, right? We will zoom out even more. Follow the money, right? We were in Nashville at Investors Conference, what, 3, 4, 5 years ago? There was a lot of money in the room wanting to figure out where to put it. If you think about the appraisal industry, it's a $9 billion a year industry. On top of that, going to $12 billion. Okay. Who wants a piece of that? So if we push this media spin on bias, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but all the cases that I've seen, it's just a crappy appraiser, or the appraisals were 1.5 years apart. There's just a lot of holes.
Sure, for sure.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. You know, I don't want to get canceled because I'm not, it does happen. But we also have to look at, if I spin this and spin this and spin this, think about how much money and speed. Look at who wants to take the money. When you got $9 billion industry, who wants a piece of that? So if I push everything to AVMs and I push this agenda, where do you think we're going? Right. And so that's, you know, I don't disagree with technology. I've been pushing it for 15 years, but it has its place.
Yeah. You can't look, technology, the pace of change in and around technology for both of our industries, for anything that touches residential real estate, has gone from a snail's pace to a rocket ship, right? Like more and more technology is coming into our space more and more quickly. You either get comfortable with that or get comfortable with new scripts and dialogues. Like, would you like fries with that? Right? Like those are basically your choices, because the technology wave is here. Yeah.
You know, it's, I mean, you think about the Nokia, right, concept, right? That we did everything right. You didn't adapt. Adapt or die. I used to say that in my speeches 15 years ago, and we're here now. You know, it is moving at a rapid pace.
What do you think? What's your take on Fannie Mae and appraisers and sort of the direction they're going with this?
It's all tied in, right? And that's what a lot of appraisers don't realize. And I'll actually tie it into the audience, which is your real estate agents.
Well, just in case people don't know, what exactly, like, what's
happening? Explain.
Like, what's the headline?
What's happening is we have all this litigation coming down. We have a bunch of repurchases, you know, coming out. So the Fannie Mae is putting pressure on appraisers. So now it's no more, you know, again, going back to facts over feelings on both sides of the industry. It's no more about your experience. I don't care how long you've been doing it. I don't care about this. Show me. It's almost like Common Core that annoyed us for so long. Show me your work. And appraisers are stuck on, this is a summary report where I can keep all my supporting data in a file. Well, now Fannie Mae is calling them on the carpet and say, hey, show me how you got to this conclusion, because we have the bias issue, because we have all these other things, right? Show me how you did it. And what's going to happen here is that's going to press on the appraisers. Again, my industry, phenomenal minds. And then there's some guys that should go back to color coordinating the salad bar at Chuck E. Cheese. Okay. The guys that do not support, use big words.
Is that a real job? Is that a real job?
I mean, we can go find out, because those people who aren't adapting to technology will all be there. I hadn't even
thought of Chuck E. Cheese in a long time until you just said that.
Your daughter's 2, right? Stay tuned. It's coming.
Yeah,
it is. It is coming at you like a freight train.
So what's happening is it's going to press down for appraisers. So skipping over a comp that was right there, we have to explain the heck out of it. We have to show support. That's why I've been on this mission to say, you know what, if I teach the appraisers and I teach the loan officers and agents, the conversation changes. But if I teach a real estate agent to show why the pricing of this neighborhood is different, that they can, in a format that an appraiser can use, now they can give that to the appraiser, say, hey, here's the data that supports a 12% change between these two neighborhoods.
It's really a trickle down from the tight monetary market, right? So you've had banks getting more buybacks, and because banks are getting stuck with more buybacks, they're trying to find who to blame, right? And one of the people on the list of who to blame is the appraiser, and so they're going to dig in and try to see if there were any errors, flaws, and Monday morning quarterback the mess out of that appraisal report, because financial markets have gotten so tight, because of interest rates are where they are. Things are getting stuck on credit lines, et cetera, et cetera. So the financial institutions are feeling the pinch, and so they're looking for scapegoats, and appraisers could be one of them. And so Fannie's dialing up the heat, right?
Oh, I mean, beyond what actually appraisers, I got to put a video out on this too, where for one of my guys on the East Coast, they said, you know, Fannie Mae is literally, they're not sending warning letters anymore. So HUD and Fannie used to send warning letters.
What's a warning letter?
A warning letter is if you have multiple files that they've seen some errors in and stuff like that, where they kind of kicked it out or got warned, they'll warn you, right? Now they're literally just overloading the state boards. So they're not even sending you a warning anymore. They're just sending it to the board for review and saying 2 words, check adjustments. So our boards now, like California State, they're like a year behind on investigations, every state. And that's what appraisers have to realize. We have to show our work. And the appraisers that can't show their work, they're going to be way more conservative. So that comes with the agents when they're pricing to be able to support what they know, not just tell me what you know.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're missing. Even on the appraisal side, it's like, hey, when I started teaching statistical buying behaviors a long time ago, it's like, I want to give the old guys, the veterans, the ability to prove what they know, and the young guys, the ability to have the eyes of the old guys. Right. And that's where, that's not old guys, please cancel me. But it's just, as real estate agents too, right? We need to know how to support our decisions. And I know you guys are on the art side of it, but you have to adapt to understanding pricing.
Do you think, this is like, you just got me kind of thinking about this. Do you think that some of this artificial intelligence is going to be used in, I'm going to reverse this, instead of it removing the appraiser, it's helping you? You know, I mean, I've been reading up on some of this really interesting, you know, technology where, you know, they're able to identify, I'm simplifying here, but granite countertops versus marble, and then adjust accordingly, right?
Mm-hmm.
It looks out the window and can see if you've got a power line. Like, I mean, the amount of stuff that they're doing with this, is this going to be used as an opportunity for appraisal software, you to use to look at it and help dial in these valuations more on your side? And then there's some process where you're involved to kind of finalize that valuation.
Well, that's already happening in many ways, right? And so we're going to have a way to kind of try to we'll have appraisal waivers go up, right? And that is true. Some appraisers don't even understand that there's already, and has been for years, technology, take a picture of a room, it can tell me everything about it. And now once I get those data points, I can run regression on those, right? Now, we will use it for one side's going to make money off it. Now, Alamo, which is the software I use, they got bought by CoreLogic. So CoreLogic is going to find a way to make money on both sides. Mm-hmm. So they are going to give us some of that data. They are going to, do things. So I think it helps. It's going to help, and it's going to hurt. Again, with all of us, I don't care what side of the industry you're on. If you don't build a brand, you're gone. Mm-hmm. Is the way I believe it.
Yeah.
Right. Bottom line.
Yeah.
So as an appraiser, if you don't step up and step into the light and be a top 3% or a 5%er, you're going to be gone. The industry is going to dwindle down more. There's still a lot of business out there. Mm-hmm. Same thing for real estate agents right now. Who is making the most? Those who are not out on the lake all weekend, those who are grinding nonstop. They're going, their brand awareness is everywhere. They're door knocking, they're flying, the social media, they're doing everything they can do. And then other people look at them like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. You have so many deals.
Yeah. Luck is the residue of hard work, right? Exactly. I think that's a Ford quote. One more before we go to the normal final question. Price obviously is a key component to a listing presentation for anyone in the real estate industry. Mm-hmm. And price is always important, but it's even more important in today's market with sellers feeling all the feelings that they're feeling. As someone who's an appraiser, who basically you spend every day evaluating properties, putting a number on what a property is worth, what advice would you give to a real estate professional in and around the price conversation with their clients?
Key number one, right? Time adjusting comps. Real estate agents don't know how to do this correctly. There's some appraisers that, are still using an old way of doing it. What do I mean by that? When you're running your CMA means absolutely nothing unless you adjust every comp to where it would sell for if it sold today, right? A simple way, and let's simplify, right? Everybody doesn't like Zillow, but Zillow does have a lot of information.
You said the Z word.
Yeah, the Z word. Right? Now, if you go to Zillow, you pull up a property, you can go to that trend line, you can move the cursor and say it says the market was $1.3 million in January, right? But you have a comp that sold in June, and now it's 1.5. You need to adjust your comp up that percentage to show what it would sell for today. Also knowing the list price to sales price ratio in your farm. I don't care about the city. I don't care about the county. I don't care about the town. In the neighborhood, what is the list price to sales price ratio? Add that, because it's statistics. It's there. It's numbers. 90 people bought homes in the last quarter. What did most of them pay? They paid 7%. Great. Add 7% to those listings. That's where those listings should close at. And if you adjust those, now you are the smartest person at the listing presentation, because everybody else is giving this other data, right? The same thing when we talk about pricing, but not only marketing time, really understanding that is key. And that's where we have these panic price drops. I've talked about this in every class, where we put out these data cards, and the data cards say, this many pendings and this many listings, and the median price is this. It's like, first of all, if you weren't real estate, did you even understand what that means?
Right.
Second of all, it's useless information. But when you look at the days on the market, when the market is going down, that is historic data going backwards. And that's why you've been telling the customer, you know what, the market's moving in 9 days, 9 days. But if you should study the listings are trending at 30. That's where you set expectations, right? So using list price sales price ratio to adjust those CMAs, that changes everything, right? And then also here, going back to what I said before about when I'm doing a consult, say that same, you're putting out a median price every day. We have that. You guys all put the cards out and it's like, cool, great. Median price is this. If I love that neighborhood, I already know that, right, Keith?
Yeah.
But how do I use that information? That's again saying, hey, you know what? The median price in January was 1.3. Today it's 1.5. That means this market's moving at 2.33%. That's what that means for you, Mr. Robinson, right?
Yeah.
Then tie that, give that median, but tell them where it came from and what that means if they're in the market to buy. So I think that. What's that?
They need to be doing a lot more education around this, basically, like really learning and to separate yourself out, to really get finite into the data. I do want to ask one question before we wrap the show up, Keith, because Keith always ends with this, but I actually want to get, what is your take on the market? Like you're looking at, I know you're more here in the Northern California market to some degree, but I know you also look at stuff nationally. Like where do you think things are going from just where we're at today, interest rates, where they're at? What's your crystal ball? Just curious.
I mean, my crystal ball is one, the worst is behind us already, right? So let's just get past that. So that's the one thing on my consult calls. Hey, you know what? The bargaining time is over. Okay. And we'll talk about Northern California, but this, it's a trickle, throughout the US in most parts, right? April or May of last year is where we peaked, right? Then we corrected. We didn't crash. We corrected down to December, January. And then from January up, the market's been moving up. And like I've said before, we're not going to have record appreciation in 2023. But I love that. And I said this in Houston with you guys. I said it in my classes early on in the year. We're not going to have record appreciation, but we're going to have some neighborhoods that are going to jump $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. And the reason why is because it overcorrected. The price trend overcorrected and went below the value trend. And that's like holding a balloon underwater. That balloon's not going to go much higher than the water when it pops back up, but then it'll stabilize right there. And that's where we're at right now in most markets, where we saw this overnight shift, and then it's finding its place on the natural value trend.
And you think that's through the rest of this year or into 2024?
In our market, in most markets, there's no inventory. I mean, everybody's locked in that everywhere. It's moving. Yeah. So the lucky thing about our market is we're in a positive bubble, meaning we don't have any sales, so every sell pops higher. So I see it trending. And
you see interest rates affecting that?
Oh, yes. I mean, this last push, when my conversations before it even shows up in the data, it's been eerie the last 3 weekends. This last push was, I think, it really just pressed our pain button. Even the guys that, because the guys in the market, they didn't care about the interest rate for the most part. They were able to buy. But I think that pressed it. But next year, as everybody, because we thought we were at the end. But I think we're getting closer to the end now. But we all been
we thought we were at the end, but it was like, nope.
How many times have we had that conversation, Keith? Like, I think it's going to be the end of this quarter, and then the next quarter, and then Powell screwed it up again the next quarter. Yeah,
a little more road left to drive. Yep.
I mean, we go into election year. We have all these other factors that I think will drop it, and I think that's the one thing that everybody needs to understand. Like when that interest rate does come down, and I forget the stat, but it was like for every 1%, it's 3 to 4 million buyers coming into the space. So, we're trending up, but slow.
Are you betting Powell's going to increase rates again, or he's going to hold in September?
I mean, what do you think?
Questions for you.
What I think is, I think he's going to kick us in the mouth one more time just to make sure it's done, because he can overcorrect and he won't get it wrong. I mean, he won't be yelled at, right? Because it's going to rubber band, pull back, go. If he doesn't do it right, then he gets judged. So I think he kicks us one more time just to make sure on that lagging data, right, that the job was done. And then I believe we're in the clear.
I hate the fact you said that.
Yeah, me too. But you're probably right.
All right, Keith.
Right. All right, let's go out with our final question we ask everyone. If you were a real estate agent, what is the one thing you would do or add to your business today to make the biggest impact in your business?
Hands down, social media. I don't care if you don't like your face on video. I don't care how you feel about yourself. I'm still carrying baby weight for my son when he was born. He's 15 years old. It doesn't matter. You shoot enough videos, you don't even care. You guys see my social media now. I'm waking up in the morning, drinking my coffee. End of the day, you have to push in the market. Right now, brand is everything. Your brand should be working for you 25 hours a day. You should have, because like people, that doesn't work. It's like, well, great. Well, tell me the ROI on a Coca-Cola sign on the side of a bus.
Right.
The bottom line is your brand should be circling your market. And here's the thing too, the key, even bigger than that, stop marketing to other real estate agents. Like your friends list is all real estate agents. If you want to know, if you want to sit there, it's like, oh, it's sold into a house. Great. The other agent doesn't care. Like, who cares? But if you really want to dig into your sphere, join the community church, do the soccer club, friend all the people at the Round Hill Country Club. If you have a restaurant that everybody goes to in town, everybody who hashtags that, friend them. Like, get out of this bubble of your 5 high school friends and all the other real estate agents. It's not making you money and it's not converting.
Yeah, it is a trust sale. And one way to, you can't get all the way to full trust, but you can at least be more trusted with social media, right? They see you, they experience you.
Well,
they get
there's
to know
facts
you.
behind that. Yeah, there's facts behind that. At the end of the day, when you put your brain on display, right, and you're educating the market, sure. Are we all insecure about that sometimes? Absolutely. But when you're doing that, the consumer gets to see that. They've already met you before you even sit down with them. You go to knock on their door. They've seen you on social 100 times. And nobody else, even if you're not, you don't feel like you're the smartest guy in the room. If nobody else is talking, you are.
The highest quality lead in residential real estate is a repeat client. Second highest quality is a referral from a previous client. And I got to think about this. I'm doing this without really sitting down and meditating on it. But I think probably the third highest quality lead would be a social media, someone sliding in your DMs.
Following you for 6 months and you didn't even know. Yeah,
exactly.
Listen, it works and people don't want to do it, and that's fine. But this is where we're at. And again, adapt or die. Do it all. Yeah. Do all old school marketing, new school marketing, but definitely get out there and push into the market.
All right.
Well, I love it. I think it's great. Anthony, thanks for being here. We genuinely appreciate the feedback. There'll be a link to his website in the show as well. If you guys want to go see some of his courses, which we'd highly recommend that you do, because you can learn a lot about how to price properties correctly.
Yeah. And since you talked about social, what's the best way for them to follow you?
It's at Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel. Hashtag. Yeah.
at Vin Diesel and The Rock had a baby.
I was about to say what he's like, get your ass on social media. I'm like, it's easy when you're Vin Diesel, okay, and you're good looking and you can do that all the time. But for the rest of us, it takes a little bit of confidence.
Listen, pride will keep you broke.
Yeah.
Just get it done. But Valued Audit, you can find me on any platforms. The one that I'm super heavy in is Instagram. Valued Audit, VALUED audit on Instagram. So that's where you can find me.
Thanks, brother.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Anthony. We'll have you back soon.
All right.